We have some breaking free agency news. The San Francisco 49ers have a new quarterback, and he goes by the name of Mac Jones. It might not have been Mac Jones at 3, but it was Mac Jones in 2025. Kyle Shanahan finally lands Mac Jones, and we'll talk about the situation. We'll talk about what his contract looks like, what it might mean for the Brock Purdy negotiation, and we found out this isn't the first time the San Francisco 49ers have tried to get their hands on Mac Jones. So we are going to talk about it all right now. But first, what I'm going to need you guys to do is smash that like button, drop an SDS in the chat. Mac Jones, he is officially a San Francisco 49ers Mayo Mac to SF. It is finally here. Oh boy, we're going to get into it all right now. So let's talk about it. Let's go. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. Boy, oh boy, what a turn of events that we have on our hands. Shout out to all the SDS popping in the chat. If you're here, that means you already know the biggest move of 49ers free agency is here. No, it's not a defensive tackle. No, it's not a defensive end. It's not an offensive tackle. It's not. What other positions can we throw out there? A linebacker, a safety? No. The San Francisco 49ers have done something that honestly I'm not crazy surprised about, but they did it anyways. The San Francisco 49ers have signed Mac Jones to a 2-year deal. And man, when you look at the contract, you can see that he got it's a $7 million deal. And it's $5 million guaranteed. It actually has the ability to go up to 11, I think it's $11.5 million. So this has some playtime incentives built into it. Man, what interesting development that we have on our hands. Mac Jones, how are we feeling? I want to get your reaction to this before we get any further into it. Is this a good move? Yes, for a good move. No, for not a good move. Let me know what you're thinking in the chat. San Francisco 49ers they needed a quarterback because before this, it was Tanner Mordecai, and that was it. And Brock Purdy's under contract. So good move, not good move. Yes or no? Let me see what you guys are thinking in the chat. I see a solid mix. There's a solid mix of yes, no, maybe. Time will tell, I guess. And every reaction in between. Wow. Crazy. This is so funny. All right. So I'm gonna talk about all the different things. We'll talk about We'll talk about the impact of it. We'll play a little bit of revisionist history, kind of go back in the Wayback Machine, and talk about it. But let's talk about the fact that this isn't the first time that the San Francisco 49ers tried to trade for Mac Jones or tried to get Mac Jones. There's a world that exists that this is the third time that the San Francisco 49ers have considered going after Mac Jones. So obviously the first time would have been in the NFL draft when they traded up to 3. There's been plenty of talk about how the San Francisco 49ers were absolutely considering Mac Jones at 3. Like that was a real thing. Because I remember that whole situation. I'll never forget when Adam Schefter tweeted that he believes it's going to be Mac Jones at 3. The uprising amongst the fan base. I remember going on stream. 2021 was the year that I started my YouTube channel. So it was fresh when that came out that the 49ers had moved up to 3 to go draft Mac Jones. I remember coming on, we pushed back against it. We said there's no way the 49ers just traded 3 first-round draft picks for Mac Jones. It doesn't make sense. Why would you trade 3 first-round draft picks for Mac Jones when you could have probably just got him at 12? That was kind of the whole logic behind it. Jumping back into revisionist history time, I was Fields high. So I wanted Justin Fields at 3. That was the guy. I cannot even believe how much I can't even believe how much anti-Mac Jones content I made. I'm being 100% honest with you. I made so much anti-Mac Jones content at 3. It was unbelievable. How much not only myself, but other 49er fans did not want Mac Jones at 3. And the wild ride that we have taken to get Jones is so crazy. And then we find out from Tom Palacero that the 49ers tried to trade for Mac Jones last year. So I'm curious to know what you guys think about that. The fact that this isn't the first time that the 49ers tried to get Mac Jones. The fact that they actually presented an offer to trade for Mac Jones last year, according to Tom Palacero. And they clearly weren't successful as Mac Jones went to the Jaguars. And so obviously he becomes a free agent. That means he's free to sign wherever he wants. And now he finds himself onto the San Francisco 49ers with a pretty decent contract, all things considered. It kind of reminds me of like the prove it deals that we've been seeing, like kind of like the deal that Sam Darnold got with the Vikings. Just something that's like that builds it into the fact that like, hey, if you play, you can make a lot more money. And so it's such an interesting development, right? And also the fact that we're being alerted to the fact that this isn't the first time that the 49ers have tried to go and get him. So I'm curious because also around this time, I had also heard a rumor that they were potentially trying, looking into another quarterback as well to trade for at the deadline. Not going to go into any information, not trying to start any rumors, but this isn't the first quarterback that I've heard that they tried to trade for at the deadline. The only reason I'm bringing it up is because Palacero brought it up. So crazy, crazy situation. But let's talk about before we get into because I know I've already seen some of the comments in the chat. How does this impact Brock Purdy? I've seen some people like, oh, we're officially on Brock Purdy watch now because, as we know, Brock Purdy is in the middle of a contract negotiation. So we'll get into that stuff, but I do want to talk about Mac Jones and what he brings to the table and why I don't think he's a terrible quarterback, and kind of go back through the Wayback Machine to why we push back against it at 3. But also, I want to give you my initial scouting report back then and kind of what I've seen up until now. So, Mac Jones, who is he? What kind of quarterback is he? He's a Kyle Shanahan style quarterback. He is a pocket quarterback. He is not going to be a guy who is going to try to escape. If you want to compare and contrast Brock Purdy and Mac Jones, Brock Purdy is a way better athlete. Brock is significantly better athlete when it comes to getting outside of the pocket, making plays with his legs, just night and day different. That's not where Mac Jones finds his success, but what Mac Jones is good at is pocket awareness. He, at least this is I'm going off my scouting report back when I was scouting the quarterbacks coming out. One of the things that stood out to me about Mac Jones was his ability in the pocket. Some of the things that we've seen with Brock as well, his ability to sidestep pressure, feel pressure in the pocket, make subtle moves to be able to find passing lanes and get the ball to his wide receiver. So again, very similar to Brock Purdy. He is a processor. That was the reason we had mentioned not drafting Mac Jones at 3, because we didn't see the upside. And that's why, with the way the league was headed, with the Josh Allens, the Lamar Jackson, the Patrick Mahomes, that's why at that time, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, and Justin Fields were all enticing options because they all had the mobility. Mac Jones doesn't have mobility. He is more of your statuesque type quarterback. So, but what is Kyle looking for in a wide receiver? What is he after? Kind of very similar to what Brock is. He's looking for a processor, a guy who can play within the scheme, play point guard, get the ball out, make enough movements within the pocket to find the passing lanes, get open. Like, that's what Mac Jones does. That's why at 12, I was okay with Mac Jones when they were picking in 2021. I was fine with that. Fine, 12. We'll get Mac Jones there. Like, he went at 15 to the Patriots. We're fine with that. It was when they jumped up to 3 where it's like we're trying to find that next level quarterback. We're trying to find the prototype. We're trying to find the next guy, right? We're trying to find that next Mahomes. So that's why I specifically pushed back on Mac Jones at 3. I wanted the dual threat. I wanted the new age of quarterback, and Mac Jones was not that. He's the old school. He's the old school guy. And I also remember that was the first year that I covered the Senior Bowl as well. And he was there. I remember standing 5 feet away from Mac Jones, and I just looking at this guy. I'm like, there's no way this guy can be the top 3 quarterback. It's just like just this, gangly looking kid standing there in his pads. I was like, this guy at 3? I was like, 12 maybe. But just a crazy development with Mac Jones coming to the San Francisco 49ers. Oh my goodness. It's kind of wild. It's kind of wild. So, when it comes to him as a quarterback, you know, I don't love him. I don't love him. I don't hate him. he's he's right there in the middle. um he's right there in the middle for me. So, let's talk about this, right? So, let me ask you the question first. Let me know in the chat. And before you let me know what you're thinking in the chat, do me a favor, smash that like button, sub to the channel if you haven't already. And I want to ask, I'm going to pose it to you like this. Um do you believe that this signing has any impact to Brock Purdy's negotiation in the slightest? Like, even if it's the most minuscule, is there any correlation? And I want to ask you in the chat, does this signing have any kind of correlation to the fact that Brock Purdy is in the middle of a contract negotiation with the San Francisco 49ers, potentially looking to get top 5 quarterback money, and the 49ers just signed a quarterback that Kyle has historically behind the scenes been infatuated with? So I'm looking at the chat and it seems split. It seems like yes, I see no, I've seen maybe, no way. So this is the thing. Any quarterback that the San Francisco 49ers were going to sign was going to, I believe, this is me speaking, I believe is going to have an impact on the negotiation, because as we've talked about as a group, I've had these conversations with you guys. If you're just joining and you're watching for the first time and you don't watch the stream regularly, you might not understand my context and kind of what I'm talking about. But I had mentioned early on in this process that I do believe this negotiation will not be easy. And I said that in season, back when the overarching theme of the Brock Purdy negotiation was it's going to be smooth, quick, fast, easy. It's going to be the easiest negotiation that the 49ers ever went through. And I have pushed back and I said, I don't necessarily believe that. I believe that this will be a challenging negotiation. And I think we're already kind of seeing at least some of the stuff play out, that it clearly doesn't seem like it's going to be a very fast, easy negotiation. So one of the things that I have talked about is who the 49ers sign as a backup is going to be very interesting to the negotiation. Because again, let's just talk about what negotiations are like. Negotiations on one side, let's say Brock Purdy, because he's under contract, just like the same situation with who was it? It was Brandon Ayuk had the 5th-year option. He held out. You had Nick Bosa I believe he had the 5th-year option, if I'm not mistaken. I can't recall if he played the final year on his 5th-year option, but he definitely wasn't an unrestricted free agent, right? I believe that's why he held out, because he was coming up to the 5th-year option. So he was still under contract. Debo Samuel as well. I think they got to the 3rd year. He still had one more year left on his deal, and he held out. So the leverage, I think of Trent Williams. Trent Williams, I think, had multiple years left on his deal, but no guaranteed money. He held out. We had a mini holdout with Christian McCaffrey in OTAs, kind of like is bordering on that. They ultimately got the deal done. He showed up. It was fine. So the point that I'm making is, if you are a player in a contract negotiation with a team and you're under contract for the following season, but you're not planning on playing on that deal, your leverage as a player is holding out. That's the leverage, is I'm not going to show up. And we've talked about it this whole offseason. If Brock Purdy wasn't going to show up and he wasn't going to play at, in mandatory minicamp and OTAs, and that went into training camp, we talked about how that would not be a good start to this season, right? So again, I'm just contextualizing it. So the reason why I think it matters who the 49ers signed at quarterback is, who do they believe could potentially start if Brock Purdy were to threaten a holdout in a potential negotiation. So the fact that they signed Mac Jones is an interesting one, because I do believe that Kyle Shanahan believes Mac Jones is a starting quarterback. So I do believe the fact that they tried to trade for him last year, again, was another interesting scenario. So all we're saying is, or all I'm saying is that I find this fascinating, considering the climate. The fact that they tried to trade for him last year, were unsuccessful. They were able to get him in. And again, I've been saying that this isn't a full rebuild or anything as long as Brock Purdy is still here. So as long as Brock is still here, I still think the 49ers believe they have a chance. They can compete. You look at the 49ers roster, the offense isn't that insanely different. So not saying anything is going to happen to Brock, but I do believe it would be naive to not process all the ranges of outcome. That's it. If you don't process the range of outcomes, that's how you find yourself getting blindsided by moves. So, range of outcome. What will happen? The hope is Brock Purdy signs a multi-year contract extension. Mac Jones is the backup, and we rebuild through the draft, go crazy, and we push for next season. So, on the flip side, they decide they want to full rebuild mode. Not saying that's happening. Not saying that's happening. It's a range of outcome. So we'll see. Again, we'll see what happens. I'm hopeful that it's Brock Purdy who gets paid. I am very hopeful that it's Brock Purdy who's going to be the quarterback of the future. But this Mac Jones signing is fascinating to me. It really is fascinating to me, because you really have to if you have to think about this like someone who's not a fan, who's running a business, and who's thinking of the future. And there's clearly a shift in how things are being done. And we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. But let's get back to the Mac Jones thing. Um, Mac Jones being on the 49ers is uh I'm gonna have to go back and look at all my anti Mac Jones content. It's so this team is so entertaining. Like I cannot express to you how entertaining this team is to cover. Whenever like you think you've got it figured out and like you think you know like what the next move's going to be, they like to surprise you a little bit. So it's wild for sure. But hey man, the San Francisco 49ers, they bring in Mac Jones. Um what the future of Mac Jones holds is still TBD. Um, but hey, we'll see. Let's take a look at what Mac Jones has done recently. So he played in 10 games last year. In 10 games, he attempted 262 passes. He completed 171 of those passes. He threw for 1,672 yards for 7 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. He had 3 2 interception games. Let's see. But when you look at what he did as a rookie, his rookie year was his best season. He went for 376 completions that totaled 4,033 passing yards with 24 touchdowns and 15 interceptions. So his best year by far was definitely his rookie season. It was kind of downhill from there. He went for 14 touchdowns, 11 interceptions in 2022. In 2023, he went 10 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and it was a decrease every year till 2023, and then obviously he got traded, I think, halfway through the season, and finished out his year with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, this guy, former, 15th overall pick in 2021, Alabama. His wide receivers at Bama, I believe, were Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, and Devonta Smith. Wow. Could you imagine having a wide receiver room? I mean, don't forget, Henry Ruggs was the first wide receiver taken by the Oakland Raiders in one of the more legendary wide receiver classes. Obviously, he had the off-field issues that contributed to why Ruggs isn't in the league anymore. I don't need to go over them. We know why. But wow, it's crazy. It's a crazy situation. It's a crazy league. It's crazy how these things go down. But again, he had Jerry Jeudy came out in that class with Ruggs, and then Devontae Smith came out the following year. And I just remember that whole draft class because it was everyone trying to discern who's the best wide receiver, Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, CeeDee Lamb. And I just remember scouting both Henry Ruggs and Jerry Jeudy, and I'm like, how can either one of those guys be the best wide receiver in this class when they're not even the best wide receiver on their team? The best wide receiver on their team was Devonta Smith. And I was like, that guy's better than both of these guys. That was the year I was super big on CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson, and I was super down on Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs. I didn't have to. He was like, I don't really love him. I don't really dislike him. He's just kind of eh. Um, but again, it was Mac Jones who was slinging the rock uh, to all three of those guys, and um, he came out the following year in that 2021 draft. I believe that was the year that Devontae Smith won the Heisman, if I'm not mistaken. So, man, this is quite the development, because when you look at the backup quarterbacks over time, they've had Jimmy G come in to be the backup. Brock was a backup at one point. Then it was Brandon Allen, and then Sam Darnold and Joshua Dobbs. So now what I do think is interesting is Mac Jones could potentially become the next Kyle Shanahan reclamation project. The fact that he signed a 2-year contract and not a 1-year contract is interesting as well, because that's going to tie him with the San Francisco 49ers through 2026 season. So he's slated to be here for the next 2 years. Joy says my husband is now smack talking, so I'm taking it out on him. Well, at least you have a husband whose team is literally hitting the reset button. And Sam Darnold is now their starting quarterback. So I don't know. I don't know how much he can be talking about. So uh I'm just this is just wild to me. It's such a wild development, a wild situation. Um One that I'm surprisingly not surprised, while kind of being surprised, while not being surprised, while still kind of taking like, oh wow, they did it. I felt like they were going to do it, and they did it. But it's still wild that they actually did it. So, man, crazy time we live in, covering the or just being 49er fans, talking about the 49ers, all that stuff. So the 49ers get Mac Jones. We'll see what that looks like. Hendrick says still can't sign a D lineman. Yeah, right when Mac Jones was announced, it was also announced that Dalvin Tomlinson had signed with, I think it was who was it? Arizona, and he was probably the best available defensive tackle. Um so yeah. 49ers 49ers go quarterback before they go defensive tackle. And looking at the defensive line, like there's really no, it's so bottom of the barrel in regards to D line right now, and who's available. Like I think maybe now the next best guy is Calais Campbell, and Calais Campbell's almost 40. So that kind of gives you an idea of what the market is currently looking like right now. But man, oh man, pretty interesting to see this actually come down to fruition. So Aziz Al Ojulari, yeah, he's pretty much the last of what we got out there. But man, oh man, I'm really curious to see. I think Brock and Mac Jones, like I think they might actually train together, if I'm not mistaken. So that's interesting. Um, so I'm sure that they'll be fine. I'm not concerned about like Brock Purdy and Mac Jones like sharing a quarterback room. Like I said, I do believe they work out together in Florida. Um, Mac Jones is from Florida. Brock Purdy's quarterback coach that he works out with in the offseason trains out of Florida. They also train with Caleb Williams and some other quarterbacks as well. So I think there's overlap here. Like I think they've definitely crossed paths in off-season training sessions and stuff like that. So this makes for a pretty interesting development. So I think they're probably cool. I don't think there's much of any there wouldn't be like any animosity like that Brock would have probably for Mac or anything. You know, they follow each other on Instagram if we want to look at it from that angle. So, yeah, I think they've definitely trained together. But it's just such a surreal moment. It's such a surreal situation. Um, Crazy, man. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So we're still expecting Mac Jones to come in and be Brock's backup and be that. If he's not, we'll react accordingly when the moment comes. But until then, Mac Jones has come in to be Brock Purdy's backup. That's what I expect him to be. I expect him to be a pretty quality security blanket for the 49ers. If Brock ever were to get injured and they needed another quarterback to come in, I do think that Mac Jones could definitely handle that job and probably perform pretty decently. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But hey, I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. We're going to get out of here now. But I appreciate everyone as always for tapping in. If you haven't already, smash that like button, sub to the channel. If you haven't, Mac Jones is finally a San Francisco 49ers. Mail Mac to the Bay. Oh, baby. Let me know. Oh, man, it's crazy. Grab your cookies on the way out. Appreciate all you guys. And I'll see you again if anything crazy pops off. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see you.